All right, let's dive into this one. The Fall. Really something else visually, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And apparently, it's been kind of captivating audiences for, gosh, quite a while now. We've got reviews, some behind-the-scenes stuff, articles, all sorts. So, yeah, let's see if we can figure out what makes it tick.
You know, it's funny you say visually because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, right off the bat, the way it was filmed, right? Over 20 countries, all on location. It really grabs you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're talking the Taj Mahal, the Blue City, was it Jodhpur, all these incredible places. Then you've got these ancient ruins and underwater scenes. Like, how do you even begin to choose? It's a whole visual journey.
Yeah.
Just breathtaking.
And that's the thing about it. You just don't get that with CGI. You
Yeah.
know, that realness. There's a scene, for example, and I'll admit this one really stuck with me, where they have these elephants swimming in the ocean. Real elephants, no green screen or anything, just out there swimming.
Wow. Talk about a logistical nightmare. I can't even imagine.
Right, but that's what's so great about it. You can tell that Tarsim Singh, the director, he really wanted to immerse you in it. Not just watching, you know, but like you're right there with them.
And it's not just, like, pretty pictures strung together, right? The sources mentioned how Singh was really influenced by Renaissance paintings.
Yeah.
Particularly Caravaggio. I mean, the way he uses light and shadow.
Oh, yeah, that's deliberate. I read somewhere that he wanted the light to almost look like it was coming from, like, the finger of God or something. And it really comes across, you know, like these stark contrasts, almost illuminated from above, very painterly.
So each scene, like, tells a story on its own. Not just what's happening, but the mood, the feeling, all in the visuals.
Exactly. And then you've got this thing called tableau vivant that he uses. Have you ever heard of that?
Vaguely. Isn't it like a living picture or something?
Yeah, like that. Basically, they pose the actors to resemble, you know, a painting or maybe a photograph, frozen in time.
Oh, I see. Like those moments where everything just stops and it's almost surreal, you know?
Yeah.
Like stepping into a painting.
And then, to contrast that, he throws in all this dynamic camera work, moving all around, slow-mo, these crazy angles, like a dream almost.
Keeps you on your toes, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole, like, story within a story thing, right? You've got Roy, he's a stuntman, in the hospital recovering from, well, something pretty bad. And he starts telling this fantastical story to Alexandria, this young girl.
But it's not just a random story. It's all tied to what's going on with Roy, you know? His struggles, his hopes, fears, all that, like a reflection of his inner world played out in this fantasy.
And for Alexandria, well, it's an escape, isn't it? She's got her own stuff going on. And this story, it's like a way to cope.
That back and forth, that's what really gets me. That blend of real and imaginary makes you think about the power of stories, how they help us deal with pain, you know, connect with each other. Really profound stuff.
And speaking of captivating, have you seen the costumes in this film? I mean, whoa.
Oh, don't even get me started. Eiko Ishioka, she did the costumes. Incredible. Every single one. Like a piece of art itself.
It's like they each tell their own little story, adding to the whole, you know, grand visual tapestry of the film.
And the crazy thing is, they filmed all over the place, and yet it all fits together seamlessly. You can tell that the whole creative team, they really had a vision.
Just imagine trying to coordinate all that. Costumes, sets, locations across multiple continents.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling, really.
I know, right? But the end result, it's just magic. You've got these real-world places blending with this fantasy, and the costumes and sets, they just add this extra layer of detail. It's like stepping into another world.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, maybe that's why it's been so popular. It's not just pretty to look at, but it actually pulls you in, you know? Makes you want to escape your own world for a little while and just get lost in it all.
Absolutely. That's the power of it. In a world that can be, you know, a little overwhelming, sometimes you just need to get swept away. And The Fall, it definitely does that.
It's wild, though. You'd think with all the visuals, it would have been a hit right away. But the sources said it got, like, mixed reviews when it first came out. People weren't sure what to make of it.
Yeah, you know how critics can be. Some of them, they thought it was all flash, no substance. Like, sure, it's pretty, but where's the story?
But I feel like the visuals, they are the story in a way. Like, it's not just there to look nice. It actually, like, adds to the whole emotional thing, you know?
Oh, totally. Like, remember the tableau vivant thing? That wasn't just random. It was actually reflecting Roy's whole, you know, situation.
Yeah.
Stuck in that hospital bed, isolated, like he's trapped in his own little tableau, and the story, it's his way out.
Right. And for Alexandria, it's like a portal into this magical world. And Singh, he's showing us visually how stories can take us places, literally A&D, emotionally.
Yeah, that's clever. Makes you question what's real and what's not, which is kind of like what both characters are going through. Roy, he's escaping into his fantasy to deal with his pain. And Alexandria, she's using it to deal with her loneliness.
Speaking of which, their relationship, it's pretty central to the whole thing, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. They're both kind of broken in their own ways, and they find this, like, solace in each other through the storytelling. It's really beautiful.
At first, I thought Roy was kind of using her, to get his med.
Oh, for sure. But then it changes, right? He starts to actually care about her, and the story, it becomes this way for him to work through his own stuff, to share it with her.
I remember that line, stories are the only true magic. And it really got me thinking, how telling stories, it can actually heal us, connect us. It's how we make sense of things.
Powerful stuff. And it's something we all do, right? We all have stories to tell, and when we share them, it changes things. For the person telling it and the person listening.
It's funny because even though critics weren't sure about it at first, it's become this cult classic. Like, people love it now.
Happens all the time. You know, those films that try something new, that are visually different, they sometimes take a while to find their people.
And in a way, it makes it even cooler, Like finding this hidden gem that just speaks to you. Something you can keep coming back to.
I think part of it is that it's so, real. In a world of CGI, everything, this one, it used actual locations, real costumes. There's incredible sets.
Yet you almost feel it,
Yeah.
Like it's tangible, not just pixels on a screen. It adds to the wonder of it all.
And that passion, you can feel it from the director, too. This drive to create something truly unique, visually stunning. I mean, that's contagious.
I was really struck by the costumes, how they weren't just pretty, but they said something about the characters, even about the whole film. Like, Alexandria's all bright colors, and Roy, he's in those drab hospital clothes. Such a contrast.
Yeah, it's all those little details that elevate it. It's not just looking at something pretty, it's experiencing it.
I wonder, though, maybe some people had a hard time with it at first because, it does get pretty dark. The despair, the talk of suicide.
Could be. Especially mixed with the fantasy stuff, it might have been jarring for some. But it's honest, It shows the good and the bad, the light and the dark. And in the end, it's about hope, about resilience.
There's a lot going on in this film, that's for sure. The visuals, the storytelling, the characters, the emotions. What do you think is the most important part, the thing that really makes it stick with you?
That's tough. It's like all these threads woven together. But if I had to pick, I'd say the heart of it is Roy and Alexandria, how they connect, how they help each other heal. It reminds us that even when things are bad, we can find solace in other people.
Escape your reality. That was the tagline, right? And it makes you think. It's not just about escaping into a fantasy world, but escaping like the limits of our own minds, finding hope where you wouldn't expect it.
Exactly. It's about using our imaginations, not just to run away, but to deal with our feelings, to connect with people, to find meaning in life.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. This whole film, so visually ambitious, so emotionally, heavy, and it almost didn't happen. Our sources mentioned that Tarsem, he actually put a ton of his own money into it. And apparently there were a lot of problems during filming, like setbacks and stuff.
Wow. That just shows you how much he believed in this project. You can really sense that passion when you watch it, that commitment to telling the story no matter what.
Yeah, it wasn't about making a blockbuster, He had something to say.
And thank goodness he stuck with it. I mean, now it's considered a classic, a cult classic, but still. It's inspiring not just for viewers, but for other artists, too. You see its influence everywhere, music videos, photography, all sorts of things.
It's funny how that works, right? Starts off shaky, and then, boom, people rediscover it, and it becomes this, phenomenon.
Word of mouth is a powerful thing. Plus, there's something about The Fall. It's not just a movie you watch and forget. It sticks with you, You think about it later, you talk about it with people. It's an experience.
And in a world where everything's a sequel or a remake, that originality is really something special. It reminds you that there are still filmmakers out there who want to try new things, who want to make art that pushes the boundary.
Exactly. And that brings us back to you, our listener. Why should you care about The Fall? What's the takeaway from all this?
I think it's a reminder to be open to things that are different, to seek out those films that are visually stunning, that make you feel something, even if they're not the usual Hollywood fare.
And, don't be afraid to give a second chance to films that maybe didn't grab you the first time around. You might see things differently now, or you might notice things you missed before.
Yeah, if you're looking for something that'll transport you, that'll challenge you, that'll stay with you, The Fall is definitely worth checking out.
And as you're watching, think about the story structure, how it jumps between fantasy and reality. How does that reflect our own lives, How do we use stories to deal with difficult things, to escape, to connect with each other?
Pay attention to how Singh uses visuals to tell the story. What did the colors say, the costumes, the way he sets up each shot? How does that all add to what you're feeling?
And most importantly, just let yourself get lost in it. In the beauty, the strangeness, the humanness of it all, you might be surprised at what you discover.